revelation of Yeshua to this world will be the one that we declare before them. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 4, the Torah portion, Chukat. Let's go to Bamidbar, Numbers, chapter number 20, and start reading with verse number 1. And the children of Israel, all the congregation, came into the wilderness of Sin in the first new moon, and the people stayed in Kadesh. And Miriam died there and was buried there. Now, this translation here begins verse 2 with the word now. Now there was no water for the congregation, and they assembled against Moshe and against Aaron. And the people contended with Moshe and spoke, saying, If only we had died when our brothers died before Yahweh. Why have you brought up the assembly of Yahweh into this wilderness, that we and our livestock should die here? And why have you brought us up out of Mitzrayim to bring us to this evil place, not a place of grain, or figs, or vines, or pomegranates? And there was no water to drink. This is the second generation. The first generation has died away. The first generation was very apt to come before Moshe and Aaron and grumble and complain, especially about the lack of water, which they did many times. And now this second generation seems to be following in mom and dad's footsteps, opening their mouths and complaining and favorably comparing Mitzrayim to their current estate in the wilderness. So they're caught in between, a place of vague memory. Remember, this is the second generation. Some of them may be old enough to actually remember the days of Mitzrayim, but many of them were born in the wilderness. So they only know of Mitzrayim, that former life, that former world, what has been told to them. Neither have any of them ever been to the land of promise, the land of their inheritance. So the majority of their life experience has been that which is found in the in-between wilderness setting. Therefore, when they say, it's favorable in Mitzrayim, they're only rehearsing what they were told. We're not talking about factual evidence here. Now, I mentioned the second verse, the first word being now here, and this is the Scripture's translation. The Hebrew says this, Velo haya mayim. That first word, velo, it has the vav sound at the beginning. The letter vav indicates the idea of connection. It's symbolically a nail, that which connects things. And in the structure of Hebrew language, it is often used as the idea of and, connecting one thought with the previous thought. What is the previous thought? It says that Miriam died. The name Miriam is a composite name, mir referencing the idea of its root mara, meaning bitter, also to be rebellious, to be contentious, to be resistant. Yam is a reference of sea, the body of waters. So you have a large body of bitter waters, so to speak. But Miriam was a prophetess. We see this earlier in her life. And she is one who announces the reality and identity of Mashiach, the one who is the rock, the source of our waters in a time of testing, a time of being caught prior to going into our inheritance. Our past life is over. Our kingdom life has not yet begun. We're in the wilderness middle section. It's easy to get frustrated here when the reality of all that is promised to us has not yet manifested. Miriam was the one who prophesied, declared the rock, the waters kept coming forth. It says then, and Miriam died, and there was no water. The Hebrew is telling us then that there is a vital connection between the life and actions, the doings of Miriam, and that flow of water, that when she is no longer there, the waters cease. After Miriam fails now to be there to declare who Yeshua is, the rock is just a rock. And if the rock is not a life-giving thing, then it becomes dead weight. Unfortunately, in some places and among some people, Yeshua stops being the one who brings life, and he is simply dead weight to us, a religious icon, one who is requiring things of us that we don't want to do. Once we lose the right identity of Yeshua, we also lose the life-giving flow of the waters who flow from him. It is Yeshua who gives to us the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, symbolically waters, living waters. It is Yeshua who produces in us the fruit of the Ruach, the fruit of the Spirit. Without rightly declaring who Yeshua is, the Torah is just dead weight. It's just a legalistic code. But when Yeshua stands up out of the pages here, and he's found in the storylines, and he's found in the commands, and even in the rituals, then this book lives and breathes right in front of us. What was their complaint? They said there is no grain. Grain referencing here two things. Barley, which is the grain of our basic salvation, and wheat, which is king's bread grain, that which is inflated and full of life. It's about the process of maturity. It says that there is no figs. Figs referencing the fig tree, the Sanhedrin court, righteous ruling, righteous application, righteous understanding of what is just and what is righteous for us. The vines references the grape in particular. The grape produces wine, which is about joy and being refreshed and being invigorated. And then pomegranates references the Torah, the work of the fruit of the Word, the seed of the Word getting down into our spirit. So what they were saying is, not only are we not seeing these natural fruits, but here we are in this wilderness and we're lacking spiritual maturity. We're not seeing justice, righteous relationships. There's no fruit of the Ruach as is taught in the Torah. People, it's easy to get frustrated in the middle of the stuff. There's a lot of bad news in the world. There's always been a lot of bad news in the world. And it's very easy for you and I to get our eyes to be overly focused on the things that are heavy, that are perplexing, that are overwhelming. Yah wants us to focus on something else, that which is yet to come. Well, it's easy to think about, but the practicality of it still escapes us. We're not there yet. And so Moshe stands up on the rock and he calls the people rebels. You're like your mom and dad. You're no different. I had high hopes for this generation to be able to come into the land, receive the land, embrace the land, and you can feel the contentious anger and resentment and animosity building up, and this great prophet of Yah. Yah says, speak to the rock. You've already struck it. The side has already been riven. The life-giving flow is already there. But what does Moshe do? Out of his anger, out of his ill-kept emotions, he strikes the rock, not once, but twice. The water still flows. The physical need is met, but the spiritual revelation is missed. As teachers, as those who are instructors, those who are shepherds, those who are trying to mature the body of Messiah, beating people over the head with a demand of the Torah without revealing to them Yeshua, you may meet the congregational need of the moment, but we're not giving life. Folks, there's life in this word. Let's find it. Let's walk in it. Let's live it and glorify Yeshua as the revelation of it. Be fruitful And let's think about Yeshua today. Until tomorrow, shalom.